just got a little taste of it, and now we're getting the real deal because we're about to welcome our incredible speaker, Jane, to the stage. So welcome, Jane.
Thank you. So I'm just going to go down the aisle here. Wonderful, thank you. All right, and now for my first act, I'll disappear. Now, I just want to grab something, my notes. So, y'all played Kismet. Y'all played Kismet. Y'all played MASH, which we'll call Kismet, like I just did. How does it feel? Do you know? Do you feel solid in understanding what your future holds?
Yeah.
I love the looks I'm getting from people right now. So what is really interesting, too, about MASH is that it's like an American pastime. Like it is this rite of passage at the end of study hall. You get a piece of scratch paper, you get your pencil, and you get to find your destiny. And so it's this rite of passage, and at the same time, it's how so many of us are introduced to the idea of predicting the future, which remains taboo. So it's an interesting situation there. So now that you're feeling ready to talk about Kismet, to talk about fate, to talk about destiny, I do want to put you all at ease. I am an expert. I have been playing MASH. I have read my tarot cards. I've had my tarot cards read. I've had a reading in pretty much everything you can have a reading in. And I spent a lot of time daydreaming. So it's said that it takes 10 years of working with the subject to become an expert. I have been doing the above mentioned things for 10, 15, 25 years. And so based off of all the highly scientific aforementioned methods, I'm an expert. Now, I got jokes. I'm gonna be joking. I'm gonna be as facetious as I am serious, because maybe the only thing sillier than Kismet itself is believing that one person gets to be an expert. I spoke at Creative Mornings 4 years ago and several lifetimes ago. Now, way back when, I spoke on the idea of choose your own adventure. Now, maybe it is the irony of life. Maybe this is a great joke by the universe. But today, I'm speaking about fate, about Kismet. The two ideas at odds. Choice, fate. Adventure, destiny. Now, there's something really special about this too, because I am a Gemini. And I am a Gemini-ass Gemini. I embody a lot of dualities. There are a lot of dualities within me and within the way I see the world. And so, of course, I would talk in front of a group of people about both choice and fate. Of course, maybe this is what they mean when they say, get you a girl who can do both. Now, before we get into the what, let's get deeper into the why I'm here. 4 years ago, when I spoke on Choose Your Own Adventure, I was the community impact lead for Google Fiber. I spoke about my failed teaching career and how that adventure led me into the world of corporate social responsibility. After a couple of years on the Google Fiber team, I ended up with basically the same job at Microsoft. In my time in the corporate social responsibility world, I worked with hundreds of nonprofits, hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, and thousands of students to bring digital tools, digital literacy, and what I now understand as digital curiosity to communities that had been radically stripped of funding, radically underserved, and generally overlooked. And then one day, I put in my 2 weeks to become an aura reader. Now, a lot of people thought this was out of left field, that I left a job at a Fortune 15 company. I left a career at this company to read energy, to read and photograph energy for a living. Now, anyone who's made a decision like that, you know it doesn't happen overnight. It was a dream I kept dreaming, a thought that lingered until one day this whim became a calling. And so I left a career, I left a 401k, PTO in the dust, so I could read people's energy, so I could become an aura reader. And now that y'all are trying to decide if I'm really cool or really out there, are you ready for the weird part? Yeah. Great. So by day, I'm an aura reader / aura photographer, and also by day, I am an ambassador of love. The work I do is the work of love. To my core, in my essence, I believe a better world is possible and that we are shaping the next world. The next world being this better world that is on its way. There's so much about this next world I don't know. I don't know the when, I don't know the how, I don't know so much, and yet I know love. I know that love will have to be at the center of the next world. I know that the changes that are to come are going to have to be the changes of love, of moving love to the center. Love holds our greatest potential and all of our wild possibility. I have a divine interest in human possibility. When I work with clients, it's an aura reading and it's an aura photo and it's showing clients who they are. I give clients not only another way to see themselves or to know themselves, I give clients another way to love themselves. At the end of the day, the next world cannot be shaped by mega corporations doing their part. It has to be shaped by the people. It has to be shaped by the relationships that people have with other people, the relationships people have with the earth, the relationships people have with their communities, and maybe most of all, the relationships people have with themselves. At the center of my work is the idea from Grace Lee Boggs that I learned from Adrienne Maree Brown: transform yourself, transform the world. I could tell you that I became an aura reader to transform myself. And that's true. It has been through years of doing the work that I can tell you I also became an aura reader to transform the world. I don't change the world because I do big things. I change the world because I do small things. The more I have learned to transform myself, the more other people have seen that they can transform themselves. The bigger, deeper ways I have learned to love myself has taught other people that they can find bigger, deeper ways to love themselves. I've worked with somewhere around 8,000 clients since I started Tertiary Site. And I plant these seeds of the next world. While that number might be a drop in the ocean in terms of population, 8,000 seeds is a whole lot of garden. As somebody who reads energy for a living, over the past 2 years, it's been wild. Did y'all get that too? But it's interesting because I've seen these shifts in energy. And we're shifting, we're moving towards asking bigger questions. Bigger questions about what it means to be here in these bodies, here in this human experience, here at this point in human history where the empire is failing. And as we ask these bigger questions, it's suddenly not so strange to be having a conversation about Kismet with a bunch of strangers on your way into work. Now, it's like so funny because I could say it's Kismet that I'm talking about Kismet, because here I am telling y'all I plant seeds for a better world, and the conversation that can only happen because all of you are here and we are here together is one hell of a seed. So, it is time for some disclaimers. I have already spoken of the universe, of the next world. I might have used the word magic. These are terms that are often associated with the occult, the esoteric, the spiritual. Now, it's hard to imagine y'all came here today knowing who was speaking, thinking this might not come up. It's hard to think y'all came to a talk about Kismet and again thought it might not come up. But the most exciting part about all of these ideas is you can let them go in one ear and out the other. If it is not for you, just hope it's interesting while it's floating through your mind grapes. Now, part of this is like we live incredibly silly lives. We assign value to silly things. Some examples, both people who are into crystals spiritually and people who are into gemstones materialistically are people with prized rock collections. This, talking about like how we assign value to silly things was really interesting because there is about 10,000 examples, and this one is important. This is the beast who lives in my home, who I call my pretty baby angel boy, Sir Durkington, every day. He's 160 pounds, and yet I make sure there's room for him on the bed. Exactly, he's the baby. And then there was about 100 tweets that I wanted to use, but I cut it down to these two. It's the idea that we live in a world that is abundant, and yet, all right, it soaked in. So, we live in a world that is abundant, and yet all of our systems of power are built off of scarcity. Silly. Silly means having a lack of common sense. Absurd. Foolish. Life is silly, it is absurd, it is ridiculous. We are ridiculous as individuals, as a species. Now, I have a deep and profound respect for being alive. And I have this deep and profound respect for being alive because I find it utterly silly to be alive. I told y'all I live with dualities. One is showing up really strong right here. It's the idea of reverent irreverence. It's the idea that you can only have as much reverence for something as you can have irreverence for the same thing. You can only respect something as much as you can laugh at it. As one of my great teachers, Rob Breesney, says, any idea I believe, I reserve the right to disbelieve as well. So, moving closer to the subject of the hour. Kismet. What does it mean? Now, I think you'll have probably picked up on this at this point. Kismet is a word that means fate, destiny, fortune. Kismet is fate. Kismet is destiny. Kismet is fortune. Kismet is a predetermined or unavoidable destiny. It is a Turkish word that has its roots in the Arabic term for destiny. Now, Kismet is a relatively new word for a very old idea. Kismet is another word for fate, and fate is woven into myths, religions, cultures all over the world. Some big examples: fate is a motif in Greek, Roman, and Norse mythology. Fate is often called predestination in Christianity and Islam. Hinduism and Buddhism have karma, which is a related idea. To be clear, karma and kismet are not the same thing. Karma says that we reap what we sow, and kismet's just like not so specific. Part of what makes kismet too is that while it's a Turkish word, it doesn't really belong to any dogma, any culture or tradition. So let's take this in. Kismet is destiny, the fate that exists for you. Does it make you feel small to think that your life is a predetermined fate? Does it make you feel powerful to think that your life is a predetermined fate? Does the idea of what shall be feel exciting or scary, expansive or restrictive? Have you ever felt moments of kismet? Maybe it was a surge of electricity when you were in just the right place at just the right time. Maybe it was when the hair on the back of your neck stood up because you narrowly missed being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe it was a sunset so majestic, a shooting star so ethereal, an ocean so vast, so powerful, that it felt like there had to be something more than you at play. Can you remember moments in your life where it just felt like there was more than you working in your favor? Now, the paradox of kismet is that we want movie moments. we are so often looking for the big moments that we miss all the little moments that make up our lives. We want Kismet to be like that scene in Casablanca where we get to say our version of the line of all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world, and she had to walk into mine. Please, I hope y'all enjoy my Humphrey Bogart. But it's like we have internalized this idea that things only have value if they are complex. And within that, we so often miss all the value that exists within the simple in our lives. Simple is worthy too. Kismet is less about the one moment that shaped your life forever, and it is more about the 1,000 moments that shape your life every day. It's less about winning lotto numbers and more about remembering to bring extra socks. It's said the magic is in the mundane. The Kismet is in the mundane too. Kismet isn't about seeing your name in lights. It is the joy of a perfectly ripe avocado. There were so many possible things to say about Kismet that I turned to my trusted source, other people. I started asking my clients what Kismet meant to them. And while I got to see hear a lot of interesting stories, what was maybe the most interesting was that there was one idea that kept coming up repeatedly. And it was something along the lines of they believed in Kismet because it gave them a sense of belonging. It was like if Kismet existed, then the universe believed in them. It was like the universe believed in them so much that the universe sent Kismet so they could know that they are supported. Interesting. It's even more interesting when you think about how many cultures have this idea of Kismet, of fate. Do we make up concepts like Kismet so we can feel like we belong to something greater than ourselves? At the core of all of these myths about fate, is it really that we are trying to find a way to belong, since we are just one tiny spark of life in a great big universe? I don't know. It sure is interesting to wonder. Which made me wonder about more things. Which got me to thinking, do you ever wonder how many choices had to happen for you to be here today? So, it turns out that the average adult makes about 35,000 choices a day. Feel overwhelmed? That's why. So, at 35,000 choices a day, that means y'all have made about 4.2 million choices this year. Yeah, exactly, yes. How many of those choices do you think led you to be here today? How many of those choices would have had to be different for you to not be here? Now, arguably, you could say that it's not even just those 4.2 million choices you've made this year that led you here today. At 35,000 choices a day, that means we make about 12.8 million choices a year. Yes, wow. Now, how many years of yearning for a creative community did it take for you to find Creative Mornings? If you say that it took you 3 years, well, that's 36 million choices. When I think about how this applies to me, I'm my own greatest learning tool because I'll pretty much tell y'all anything. June will be 18 years since I had my first Aura photograph. That would mean, if you think about 18 years of choices that have led me to be here today, that would mean it has taken about 230 million choices for me to be here in this way, giving this talk. It's easy to look at all the suffering, all the pain, all the futility that exists in this world and not be able to understand how something like Kismet could possibly exist. At the same time, it's so hard to look at the sheer number of choices that have led us to be here and think that something like Kismet doesn't exist. Which got me even more curious. Now, beyond ourselves, It took other people for you to be a people. That's the right term. Do you ever wonder how many people, though, it took for you to exist? If you look 3 generations back, it took 8 different people existing for you to exist. If you look back 10 generations, it took 1,024 different people existing for you to exist. All right, you ready to know where that next number comes from? If you look back 20 generations, it took over 1 million people existing in order for you to exist. Over 1 million people. Now, there was also a number that I was too afraid to put on a slide because it didn't look real. If you look at the odds of what it took for the sperm and the egg that created you to be the right sperm and the right egg at the right time to create you and only you, that number is 1 in 400 quadrillion. 1 in 400 quadrillion. That's a real number. Maybe that's Kismet. Maybe that's it. Maybe Kismet is just simply existing in a world with such wild odds. Maybe Kismet is being here in a world with so many choices. So much had to happen in order for you to happen. So much had to happen in order for this to happen. Maybe the sense of belonging that we seem to find inherent in this idea of Kismet comes from everything, the choices, the generations that have gone into all of us being here today. I'm sure y'all have seen this quote before. This is a creative gathering. Plenty of y'all were on Tumblr. So it's the idea like you were all stardust. The poetic thing about physics. The catch is, I'm no physicist, and this talk is not about science. So we're going to remix that quote. Every cell in your body came from an unquantifiable number of choices made by thousands of ancestors over hundreds of years, and the wisdom of your left hand probably came from a different person than the artistry in your right hand. It really is the most poetic thing I know about Kismet. You exist. You exist. Is Kismet real? Do you believe in Kismet? Does it matter? Does it matter if Kismet's real? Is the magic, the wonder, the curiosity of Kismet in the questions instead of the answers? Is Kismet really about finding new ways to wonder, to marvel at our existence and at the world itself? I don't know, but it sure is interesting to wonder. So now, we are entering the imagination dimension. And to go along with it, I have created a practical guide for experiencing Kismet. This is going to be a 3-part series. And part 1 is a series of affirmations to help you embody the experience of Kismet. These affirmations are guaranteed to help multiply the Kismet of your human experience. Are we feeling ready? Do y'all like affirmations? Yes. Y'all ready to be vocal? Yes. All right. Here we go. Oh, it's magic. I recommend for this one for when you're feeling the magic of the moment, the magic of whatever you think is magic. Now, this could be when you get the right lighting at golden hour, when you get seated at brunch immediately. Or maybe it's when you miss one of the big-ass potholes on Gallatin, on Charlotte, anywhere. So, power in numbers. Are you all ready to say this one with me? Okay, we're going to do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's magic. Whew. There we go. Now, the second one. Hello, world. I'm your wild girl. Now, you'll see this one has an asterisk. This one can be totally gender neutral. Feel free to replace the word girl with one or whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. I recommend this mantra for when you're feeling wild. Maybe you're going to try a new brand of peanut butter. Maybe you ordered a drink because you liked the name and you didn't even look at the ingredients. Maybe you're going to try a spin class. So, again, we're going to say this together. Are you feeling ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. Hello, world. I'm your wild girl. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, push it real good. I recommend this one for when you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Maybe there's a person that you've always wanted to be friends with, and today is the day that you're going to be friends with them. You're going to ask them out to dinner. This is a great one. Now, I don't recommend saying it within earshot of them. Maybe you're going to try a new hiking trail. Maybe you are learning higher Excel functions. Again, the magic is in the multiplicity here. We're going to say it together. 1, 2, 3. Push it real good. Oh, this is beautiful. So, thank you so much for the assistance. It turns out our issue here was that I put my water in front of the sensor. So, Kismet is really a foot. Oh, well. So, for this one, use your imagination. Keo, keep, whatever makes you feel good. Generally, the idea is keep rocking in the free world. I recommend throwing the horns up with this one, if you're going to do it, to keep rocking in the free world. This is for moments when you feel really free. I'm talking windows down, music up. It's maybe you're drinking juice straight out of the container. Or maybe you just told somebody, no, you just asserted a boundary. All right, we're going to practice together. And if you will indulge me, let me see the horns too. 1, 2, 3. Keep rocking in the free world. Huh. Now, personally, I use this one a lot. This song was in my top 3 played songs of 2021. So, fun fact about me. I recommend this mantra for when you're ready to believe that something can happen, that something will happen. This could be for when you were running late, but by damn, you're going to be on time. This could be for when you're trying to get tickets to a show that you know is going to sell out. This could be for when you are playing bingo. Are you ready? We're going to try it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I believe in miracles. Oh, y'all are so good at that. I do not have rhythm. So, all of these mantras are guaranteed to help you see more Kismet in your life. Remember, I'm an expert. I know these things. So, really quick, we're going to get to the giveaway portion. Now, you'll notice I just gave a mantra and 3 examples. The first person who can stand up and give us a Kismet affirmation and 3 examples of when to use it, you're going to win an aura photo and aura reading. You're going to win more time with me. So, tick-tock, who is feeling ready? All right.
Are they supposed to be the examples you gave?
No, your own example.
I believe in miracles. Could be when I'm playing backgammon and I need 2 6s to win. It can be when I'm going to a crowded beach and I want a spot that's 6 feet away from everybody and I find it.
Woo.
It could be when I go into a used bookstore and I'm looking for a particular book and I find it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That is it. And there we have our winner. All right. So, I told you this was a practical guide for experiencing Kismet, and you've gotten a taste. Are you ready for part 2? All right, this part is meditation, but this might be a little different than some of y'all are used to meditation. So if you are able to, if you are willing to, I'm going to ask y'all to stand up and kind of spread out a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of room. All right. Wonderful, wonderful. And so now that you're standing, if you are comfortable with this, I'll have you go ahead and close your eyes. Close your eyes and feel your breath. Feel what it feels like to have breath enter your body. Fill your lungs, fill your belly with that sweet, sweet air. And feel what it feels like to exhale. Feel the sensation of your breath leaving your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your feet on the earth. Remember that underneath you is the earth. And the earth at its core is this molten heat, molten rock, lava. And feel that heat from the core of the earth. Feel it travel all the way, all the way, all the way to your feet. So, are y'all feeling a little warm now? Feeling it? Feeling some energy? So, now that you are back in your seats, we are moving into part 3 of the practical guide for experiencing Kismet. And this is the Wonder List. Now, this one was a piece of paper that was sitting in your chair. So go ahead and find that piece of paper. Go ahead and see your Wonder List. Thank you, thank you. So, you probably noticed there were several words that were repeated today. Kismet, fate, destiny. And then the other word I repeated the most was wonder. Remember, the question was, is Kismet real? Is Kismet actually about bringing a sense of wonder to our lives and to our experience? So this is a checklist, because nothing is more magical than a list. That was a joke? Okay. All right, so people who like lists are here. It's okay, I really like lists too, that's why we're doing it. And so this is a list to bring the sensation of wonder to your everyday. And so the idea here is that you're going to write a list of 5 questions that y'all get to pick, y'all get to decide for yourselves. But these are 5 questions that will allow you to notice the sense of wonder in your everyday life. These are questions to help you see the magic in the mundane, the Kismet in the everyday. And you'll get to decide for yourselves. I will make a suggestion for question number 1. Is this Kismet? Because again, maybe it's just that simple. And so, we're going to go ahead and take time to fill out our lists. Y'all are overachievers, I'm sure. You were here at 8 in the morning. I believe in you. Now, of course, you can consult the Oracle, which is the person sitting right next to you. This is an activity you can do together and go. Go ahead and start filling out your lists of wonder. Your list to help you see the magic in the mundane. The checklist to experiencing Kismet. I'm seeing some looks that make me say, there is no right or wrong here. You're not going to miss the question. You're not going to fail the quiz. This is all about you. What you feel called to, what you feel compelled to. That's it. as we're chattering and people are writing, does anybody have any questions that you'd like to share?
I'll stand. I think that's fun. The first question I wrote down was, has this happened to me before?
Ooh. That's
See,
great.
that's the reason I got to you.
And, yeah.
My last question, which I had to think really hard about because everything else came quickly and naturally, but my last question is, what sounds are letting me know I'm not alone? And there's like, sitting here trying to write this question, I dropped into some like hushed whispering over here where somebody said something about buying flowers. There's just something for me about like taking a moment and hearing the noises that I'm hearing. Creaky building, grass moving around, hushed whispers, that's like so magical and always brings me back into like how beautiful everything is.
On that, I'm going to give a simple closing, and it's mostly just to say thank you. Thank y'all for letting me be silly, letting me be as silly as this thing called life is. It has been a true pleasure to bring this talk from my mind grapes to yours. And my greatest hope is that you can leave here today with a seed, knowing that you are a seed, a silly, silly, wondrous seed for a better world. And that maybe it's Kismet, maybe it's Maybelline that brought us here today. Here to bask in the wonder, here to bask in the Kismet. And of course, keep rocking in the free world. All right, thank you. You're welcome.